Your engine dies without warning. One moment you're moving with the current of traffic, headlights sliding past like a river of white light. The next, the dashboard flickers, the engine chokes, and your car begins to slow in the dark. You guide it onto the shoulder and roll to a stop. Silence settles inside the cabin. Outside, the highway is still moving. Cars and trucks tear past at 70 miles per hour, each one shoving a blast of wind against the frame that makes the whole vehicle shudder. The sound is violent and brief, like standing beside a passing train. You switch on the hazard lights. Orange flashes pulse against the asphalt. Familiar, reassuring. You reach for your phone and start thinking about tow trucks and wait times. Another truck explodes past. The mirror rattles. The car rocks again. At highway speed, a vehicle covers roughly 30 meters every second, and a human brain needs about 1.5 seconds just to recognize danger, which means the drivers behind you may not see a broken down car. They see an obstacle, and at this speed, obstacles don't get avoided, they get hit. Most drivers believe hazard lights protect them. They don't. At highway speed, those small flashing bulbs often give approaching drivers less time to react than it takes to blink, and physics does not slow down for blinking lights. The real danger in a nighttime highway breakdown isn't the mechanical failure. Engines stall, tires blow, cars stop every day. The real danger is time. At 70 miles per hour, a vehicle moves roughly 30 meters every second. That means in the time it takes a driver to glance at the road, check a mirror, and look forward again, their car has already traveled the length of a basketball court. Then the brain needs time to understand what it's seeing. Human reaction time averages around 1.5 seconds. During that brief pause, while the brain decides whether the object ahead is moving or stopped, a car can travel another 40 to 50 meters. By the time the driver behind you realizes the vehicle on the shoulder isn't moving with traffic, the distance left to react may already be gone. Your car is no longer part of the road. It is an obstacle placed directly in the path of momentum, and momentum rarely negotiates. Highway collisions at night are not random events. They follow a simple chain of physics that unfolds in seconds. First comes visibility. The human eye detects danger through contrast, movement, bright reflection, clear shapes. But a disabled car on a dark shoulder offers almost none of those signals. Dark paint absorbs light. Dust and road grime scatter it. From a distance, your vehicle can blend into the asphalt like part of the road itself. Then comes recognition. Drivers are not scanning the road with perfect attention every second. They check mirrors, adjust speed, look at dashboard displays. When their eyes return to the road, the brain must interpret what it sees. Is that car moving with traffic, parked, merging? That tiny moment of uncertainty costs time, and time is distance. At 70 miles per hour, a car travels about 30 meters every second. In just 2 seconds, it has already covered more than half a football field. Finally comes braking. Even when a driver reacts instantly, a vehicle still needs tens of meters to slow down. Tires grip. All weight shifts forward. Momentum resists. If recognition happens too late, the math becomes unavoidable. The car behind you isn't choosing whether to hit you. The physics has already decided. The first layer of survival doesn't begin at your car. It begins far behind it, out in the darkness where approaching drivers are still moving at full highway speed and still have time to react. This is the only place where the physics of a collision can still be interrupted. Most people rely on hazard lights. They flash, they feel official, and inside the car they look bright enough to signal danger. But from a distance they compete with everything else glowing along a highway. Brake lights, street lamps, reflections bouncing off wet pavement. At 70 miles per hour, a flashing bulb that low to the ground can easily blend into the visual noise. That's why professional truck drivers carry reflective warning triangles. When placed hundreds of feet behind a disabled vehicle, often 300 feet or more, the reflective surface sends headlights straight back to their source. The driver approaching doesn't just see light. Their brain instantly registers a stationary hazard. LED road flares push this further. Instead of one signal, several bright points stretch down the shoulder, forming a pattern the brain recognizes faster than any single flash. Momentum is still coming, but now the warning reaches the driver before the impact becomes inevitable. The risk changes the moment you step out of the vehicle. Inside the car, you're protected by steel and glass. Outside it, you're a human body standing beside a highway where vehicles are still moving at full speed. Most drivers assume they'll be visible if they stand near the shoulder, but headlights are angled downward toward the road surface, not toward a person standing beside it. Dark clothing absorbs light instead of reflecting it, which means your outline can dissolve into the darkness until a driver is already close. At 70 miles per hour, recognition happens in seconds. A reflective safety vest changes that equation. Retroreflective material sends headlight beams directly back to their source, creating a bright signal the brain can detect far earlier than a dark silhouette. You're no longer a shadow beside the road. You become a signal drivers can recognize before reaction time runs out. The next threat isn't the traffic, it's the darkness around you. When a vehicle shuts down on a highway at night, the surrounding environment often collapses into near total blackness. Headlights illuminate only what's directly in front of moving cars, not the shoulder where you're standing. Without light, depth disappears. Distances become guesswork. You can't clearly see debris on the ground. You can't judge how close traffic actually is. You can't signal drivers if something goes wrong. A high-power flashlight or headlamp restores control. The beam cuts through the darkness, letting you scan the shoulder, illuminate hazards, and signal your presence if needed. Because on a dark highway, the most dangerous place to stand is where you cannot see what's coming. The final layer of survival exists for the moment no driver wants to imagine, because sometimes the collision behind you doesn't stop in time. That secondary impacts on highways happen fast and without warning. A distracted driver drifts onto the shoulder. A vehicle swerves too late. Suddenly, the force of another car slams into the rear of yours while you're sitting still. When that happens, the structure of the vehicle can deform instantly. Doors may jam. Seatbelts can lock under tension. The space that felt like protection seconds earlier can turn into a trap. A window breaker and seatbelt cutter gives you a way out when seconds matter most. Because after a high-speed impact, the greatest danger isn't just the crash, it's being unable to escape what comes next. The most dangerous part of a highway breakdown is not always mechanical. It's psychological. When something unexpected happens on the road, the brain immediately releases adrenaline and cortisol. Those chemicals are designed to help you survive immediate threats, but they also narrow your perception. Your attention collapses onto the problem directly in front of you, the engine, the dashboard, the phone in your hand. This is called tunnel vision. You focus on solving the breakdown, calling for help, waiting for assistance. Your brain quietly assumes the shoulder is a safe place to pause. But highways don't pause. Traffic keeps moving at 70 miles per hour whether your car works or not. And while your mind is busy solving the mechanical problem, another driver may already be closing the distance behind you. This is the moment when most highway shoulder collisions happen, not during the breakdown itself, but minutes later when everything feels calm again. Traffic continues moving past you at full speed. Somewhere behind you, another driver approaches. Maybe they're adjusting the radio. Maybe they glance at a navigation screen. Maybe the glare of another vehicle's headlights washes out the shoulder for a split second. At 70 miles per hour, that moment is enough. In 2 seconds, a car can cover more than 60 meters. If the driver recognizes the stopped vehicle too late, there is no room left to slow down, no space left to steer away. By the time the danger becomes obvious, the physics of the crash may already be unfolding. A highway breakdown becomes dangerous the moment you forget one simple fact. Your car has stopped, but the highway hasn't. At 70 miles per hour, traffic is a river of moving mass and momentum. It doesn't slow down because one vehicle is stranded on the shoulder. It keeps flowing past at 30 meters every second. Survival in that moment is not about luck. It's about visibility, distance, and reaction time. The earlier drivers recognize danger, the more time physics gives them to avoid it. Knowledge changes that timing. If this warning reached you before your next long drive, share it, because the next person watching might be the driver who sees the obstacle in time. How visible would your car be tonight if it stopped on a dark highway?